Connor here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to edit photos in Lightroom and to get that sort of vintage film look. It's one of my favorite looks. You see it a lot on Instagram, and it's really easy to do in Lightroom actually. So we're going to pick a photo that we like, so we'll start out with this one. The first thing I like to do is to rotate the picture, because you can see this one's a little crooked. You can press R. If you press the R key, that'll allow you to rotate, so I got that set up. Now this photo's looking pretty good, but it's a little underexposed, but I kind of like that, but we'll bring it up a tiny bit like that. Now usually I start with my highlights. I bring it down just a little bit, like -20. These numbers, oh, by the way, if you click here, you can use plus and minus to adjust the setting by increments of 5, which is really helpful. So I can adjust this by 5. I like the shadows kind of dark, so we'll keep these shadows down like that. That's pretty cool. We'll see the whites. I do like whites in my photo, but we'll bring it down just a little bit. We'll bring it down -5. Or -10 actually. And normally I'm not gonna mess with the black clipping right now. So that gets your general, like you can see before and after. We've already gotten a little bit, like it looks just a lot cleaner. Like if you look at that compared to that, it's just definitely cleaner. Next I'm gonna go down to the RGB curves here. And to get that faded film look, all you have to do is drag up this. I like to bring it up to maybe about right there, like halfway, and then we're gonna fade the shadows just a tiny bit, just so, like you see, I barely brought it down just because I like that. Now I'm gonna raise the mids here just to give some more clarity in the mids, like I like that, and then we'll bring down the shadows like that. Now this looks really messy, so like the darks are extremely dark. So now what we're gonna do is go into, if you click this, you can like edit the regions of these. So I'm gonna bring up the dark region quite a bit, maybe to plus 40 is probably good. So I like to keep the numbers nice and even. We'll also bring this up maybe like +10, and I think everything else is fine. Maybe adjust the shadows a little. I'm thinking maybe we'll +10 the shadows, and now just to clean it up a little more, we'll bring up the blacks by 15. Now, as you can see, we've definitely achieved that film look, and you gotta tweak it. I mean, I can sit here forever and mess with it. I'll actually adjust that to 5. So this right here is just our, just the faded look. Now next, I like to go into hue, saturation, and luminance. You can control the individual tones. Now this is a little, it's kind of complex, especially if you want like a specific film look, like a Portra or Fuji color, or something like that. But for now, we're just gonna stick with adjusting. You'll see that the wood here is changing when we adjust the orange. So is the skin color though. So I'm gonna keep it really subtle. I'll keep it at like -5, and then yellow is what we really want to mess with. You'll see that totally changes the way the image looks. So we'll bring this down to like -10, and for the most part, that should be it. I think I'll bring the greens down too. And you'll see if I turn this off and on, it's extremely subtle, but you'll notice the image is a little bit pinker and orange. It just brings out the wood really nicely. Other than that, that should be fine. I like to add greens to my blues as well, so we'll add some greens to the aqua. And I don't think the blue I have to mess with. And then you have saturation, where you can control the individual levels, which is really nice. So nothing in this picture is really oversaturated. I don't think I'm gonna mess with anything here. Yeah, everything's looking pretty fine. Maybe the greens. I like to bring down the greens because I don't really like greens that much. You'll notice in a lot of my photos that I keep the greens very desaturated. We'll bring down that a little bit. Other than that, maybe bring up the luminance for this. Bring down the, I don't know if I want to bring that down or up. We'll just leave it where it is. The greens, I don't really mess with luminance too much, just because, I don't know, it gives the photo kind of an unnatural appearance when you do something like that. But if you look, we've done all our hue, saturation, and luminance, and you'll see it's very subtle, but it really cleans up the image. Next, we're going to move on to split toning. This is totally optional. You can either tone with RGB curves or tone with split toning. I already have my colors set up, but if you guys want to know, I like to keep it pretty teal, like cyan. You'll notice this is a very greenish blue. It's not a very like blue, it's kind of green. And then I grab sort of an orangish, you'll see like that. Like this is pretty nice. Split toning is great. I like to keep my shadows warm and my highlights very blue. I just like the way that looks. And you can adjust the balance here, like how much of each one. If you move it to the left, you get more shadow. You move it to the right, you get more highlights. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring. Actually, I like the balance. I'm gonna take this down though, because that's a little bit crazy. And I think that level's looking pretty nice. So you'll see it just cleans up the image. It gives it a pretty nice warmth to it. Let's see. That's looking pretty good. So again, it's very subtle adjustments, but you'll see there's the before, there's the after. It just adds some orangey red to the shadows. You might even want to add a little bit more blue. I like to keep. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool. So you'll see we got that nice film look going on. Next I do sharpening. I bring up the sharpening, bring down the radius, just to, you know, make it look cleaner. There's nothing specific there. I just bring that up, bring that down. We got lens profile corrections. These will get rid of the vignette that's around your image. I actually like the vignette that's here, but if you want to mess with it, you can actually adjust the vignette slider. But I like the darkness that the vignette brings, so I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. Distortion will just affect the bending of your lens, and I'm just going to keep that where it is, because usually it'll fix it to a natural. If you do this much, it'll start to look a little bit unnatural, like it concaves too much, which you don't want. So, or convex, one of the two. You can mess with, what's it called, the vignette here, but I tend to never add this, just because I feel like it's too unnatural. If you want to add vignette, I recommend adding it your lens's natural vignette. It's all personal preference, but I don't like to add artificial vignette because it never looks as natural as it does. Camera calibration's cool. You can get some tones out of it. You'll see I'm adjusting here. You can saturate different parts of your image like that. I don't mess with it too much, but if you do, you can get some really good tones out of it, so sometimes I do. And finally, that's pretty much it. I might bring down the clarity just a little bit, and maybe bring up the contrast. Oh, actually, grain. Sorry, I forgot about that. I like to add grain. This, I usually add about 15 grain, or actually, we'll do 20 for this. You can play with it, but I like to slam this up pretty high. I keep it at 90, and then the size you can adjust. You can either do 20 or 25, depending on how harsh you want the grain. I kind of like it like this. I think 20, 25, and 90 is a good setting. So as you can see, we've now added in all this grain, which is pretty nice looking. It's a very sharp grain. I don't like the big grain. I try to keep the size very low, but I like how 25 looks right now. But as you can see, we have our before, our after, and I'm really digging how it looks. We didn't do too much, and it's got a nice faded film look. Hopefully this helped you guys out. I'll be editing more pictures and showing you kind of different styles of editing, but I'm really digging how this turned out, so hopefully this helped you guys out. I didn't want to use any presets. I wanted to walk you guys through every single step. I toned with split toning. I'll probably make another video talking about the curves, how you can tone with curves, because you can get two different styles of toning. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.